Hey everyone, it's me Tiger, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make small spaces on your island look better with 3 simple tips that you may have heard before, but I'm going to show you 3 builds that I've done on my island using these tips. That way you can get an idea of how I personally use these. So first we're going to start out with this area that is nearby my entrance. It's just a small piece of land and then there's a tiny beach in front of it as well. So we are going to decorate both of those, and we're going to be using my first tip: use this space to connect different areas or as a transitional space. This is my most simple tip for any small space, especially if the small space that you're talking about is in between 2 other builds or just areas on your island. You can just use pathways and other items to kind of create a transition or a walkway between the 2 builds that looks really natural and flows really nicely. This is especially great if it is a really small space, even smaller than the one that I'm working with here. Just making a little connector between 2 builds is enough, and they always look really nice. I love to have a ton of transition spaces on my island, and I think it makes it look more natural and it helps the flow of your island. If you are having visitors, it's easy for them to travel from build to build if there is kind of an easy pathway leading them to the other builds. So I did place down my pathway. I included that part in the video because I don't know, I thought maybe you guys would like to see how I specifically did that. And I tried not to use like a circular shape or a square shape when I do my pathway. I try to have like a unique random space. This is just because I have a natural themed island, so I want it to look more natural, obviously, but I just think that it looks really nice and it kind of has a different dynamic to it, makes it more unique, has some interest, and it just looks different than your regular circular pathway. Yeah. So the next tip that I have to share with you is to add a seating space to your small area, because seating, you can never go wrong, especially if you don't know like what you want to add. Like if there's nothing specific that will fit into this area, or just nothing that you really want to do, you just want to do something simple, I recommend adding a seating area, because then you could always add things on top of a table to kind of signify what's happening here. For example, I used a pie because I wanted to use elements from the surrounding builds to really make this transitional area cohesive with the rest of my island. There is a pie bakery to the left across this bridge here, so I did include the pie on the table. That way it's kind of related and connected. It makes sense, you know? And there is like a bread stand on the right of me, like near my entrance. You'll probably see it at some point in this video, but there is a little bread stand. So I thought that we could add like some wheat and some barrels, some food on the table. That way it looks like, I don't know, maybe they got bread from the bread stand or they got a pie from the pie bakery, and it just kind of makes sense, you know? That way it all just flows very nicely, very naturally. And here I'm just adding some decorations to fill in the area, some wheat fields. You can see that I've added some flowers, some shrubs. I think that the barrels were a really nice touch in bringing this space together. And yeah, that is basically my first tip, is just to make it a transitional space. I also did add a storage shed because I didn't have a convenient way to access my storage beforehand, and this is where I started to add some fencing, which is another small tip that I have for you, is to add fencing into your build. It doesn't even have to be a small space, but just in general, I think that fencing is a really nice tool in this game to kind of elevate your builds. There's also a secret area behind this that I didn't want to be like super in view, so I thought that the tall fencing would help kind of block that and kind of deflect you from looking at that. And I did use some more of this brick pathway to lead to the bridge, because you want to use pathways and other directional items or hints to kind of guide your way through your island, if that makes sense. So that is why I added the little finishing brick pattern onto the ground there. That way it's obvious. I mean, I guess it could be obvious if there's a bridge there, but that way it just naturally and very nicely flows into that bridge. And now we're gonna be decorating the beach area, which I always struggle with, but I thought that this beach actually turned out really nicely. I decided to just use a pathway to connect from the build that we just did and take it to connect with the entrance over here and the bread stand on the right. That way people who are visiting my island know exactly how to go about so they can see, hey, there's a pathway on the beach, so I should probably go across this beach area. That way it's more obvious that this is the direction that I would rather them go. And so I just used the regular dirt pathway, which I think looks really nice on the sand. It looks kind of awkward at first when it's just the bare pathway in the sand, but I did add a lot of things that you'll see in a minute that make it look more natural. And Harv kept coming into all of my builds in this video, even though some of them I recorded on separate days. Like, Harvey was just there, he was here for it. He wanted to see how to decorate a small space. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, be sure to leave a like and also subscribe if you would like to see some more Animal Crossing videos, and let me know if there's any other tips and tricks or tutorial videos that you would like me to make. I haven't made one in a while. I wanted to decorate a lot of the small spaces on my island, and I thought I could make it into a tutorial to help you guys decorate the small spaces on your islands as well. So now I have added some more custom designs around, some weeds, some flower sprouts, and also I dropped a coconut on the ground to make it look more realistic. And I have lately been loving the wheat field item on the beach. I think it looks so good. I think it elevates the beaches so nicely. It adds a little bit of height, a little bit of dimension, and then of course I added somewhat of a seating area onto the beach as well. That way it looks more lively. I used this cute little blanket pattern with an umbrella and a picnic basket, which I thought was so cute. And by the way, if you do want to use any of the custom design codes that I use on this island, I do have a Google Doc with all of them listed, including the pathways and little design codes that I am using in today's video, and that is linked in the description, so be sure to check that out if you would like to see all of those. And I just added some finishing touches to this area, and then I will take you guys on a final walkthrough so you can see the completed build whenever all the shrubs and trees have grown in. It was like a foggy, kind of moody day on my island when I recorded the final walkthrough, but I think it turned out so cute. I think it flows really nicely. I'm so glad that I finally decorated this spot because it's just been empty since the start and it just was bothering me. And now look at it, it looks so cute. I love the beach as well. I normally am not as proud of my beach builds as I am of this one, and here I am kind of coming from the entrance so you can see that it transitions really nicely into this little area and to our little bridge. And now we are going to be working on this area, which is above Vivian's house, and we're going to be using tall or big items to take up space in this small area to add some interest and make it look very nice. So this is kind of an elevated area on a cliff. It's right above Vivian's house, and then it kind of leads you over into our farm that we built recently, inspired by Squishmallows. You should definitely check out that video. It was super fun to make. But since this is right above Vivian's house, I didn't want it to be a specific build. I just wanted it to be sort of a transition area. But again, I'm using the tips that we talked about before, using this windmill to kind of connect to the farm. There's also a farm kind of in front of her house as well, so I think it made sense to have some farming items. And also, again, I do like to use some taller, bigger items in the transition space because it just makes it look more put together and just adds a lot of interest into it. I think the windmill made this little area stand out so much and made it look so much nicer than if I did not have the windmill. So in front of her house on this side, I just included some, natural nature elements because I didn't want to take away too much from her house and distract from her build down there. So I just added flowers and shrubs, some little bunny rabbits, butterfly models and such. And then we were ready to start adding a pathway to this build. I wanted to take the pathway from the incline over to this land bridge that I have not started building yet. I did already do the terraforming a while back, but I wasn't sure how I wanted to do the land bridge until I did an island tour recently and got super inspired. So I just led the dirt pathway up to the bridge area, filled in these gaps with some flowers, and I also put a hand cart, again just trying to make this area relate to the farm around it and to make it make a little bit more sense. And then I added a few things back over here on this cliff that needed to be filled. I like to fill like every spot on my island, whether it's with weeds or shrubs or flowers. I like a lot of clutter on my island, but that's just my personal choice. And now we're gonna be doing the land bridge. So I didn't have room to design or download anything specific for this bridge, so I just used these plain wooden planks that I already had for other builds, and I just laid them across the bridge. That way it looked like it was a wooden structure. Also, I decided to use this wooden sign trick that I got inspired from this lovely island that I actually visited on my channel for an island tour. So if you do want to check that out, you definitely should. But credit to this creator on Instagram. They came up with this awesome idea to turn around the fences, or not the fences, sorry, the signs, and it looks like a rail. I didn't have 6, so I didn't have enough to do it across the whole thing. So I did add these little vines at the entrance, but I think it looks really cool and it flows really nicely into the farm. You can see it from the farm over here. I think it looks really nice. And again, it's just kind of, it's not really an item, but it is a big thing that takes up space, and it's a big interest point in this little small area, and I think it looks really awesome. And that is how this area turned out. I love it so much. I'll go ahead and show you some different angles so you can kind of see how it looks. It overlooks our little sheep farm, and I think it's adorable. Very simple, natural decor with just a few big things like the windmill and the bridge. I think it really pulled this space together, and it looks really nice from Vivian's house as well. It's a really cute backdrop. And now we're going to be moving on to our next space, which is this peninsula and the small beach that is behind it. And this area does connect over to my house, which is a lake cabin, and then it's kind of nearby the shopping district. I just wanted to make this kind of a cute seating area, and I'm going to be creating a small terraforming feature to elevate items and take up space in this small area. That is my third tip for you guys, is just to use a tiny bit of terraforming in a small space, and I promise it'll take it to the next level. It'll look so much better. I just did this simple 3x3 cliff and rounded it off on the sides, and it already takes up so much space in this small area, and it adds so much interest. I think it looks so good, especially on the peninsula. And I also did a little bit of waterscaping on top of it, again, just to add some more detail and interest into this area. And then that's when I realized that I had gotten myself stuck, so I did have to call the rescue services. I thought this was pretty funny. I could have just like undid the waterscaping and just climbed down, which I didn't realize at that point, but I thought it was funny. I wanted to include that in the video. But now we are going to start adding our pathway, now that we know like how much room our cliff is going to take up and where it's going to be. So I did add my dirt pathway. You can see that I already kind of had a little bit of the pathway coming into this area. I just didn't know what I wanted to do with this. And again, I tried to make the pathway look very unique, have dynamic shaping. That way it wasn't just like a circular pathway that looks just like normal. I don't know. I just wanted it to look a little bit unique and different and more natural, more like, I don't know. I think it looks like it blends into the terrain more naturally. And again, I just added some more seating because seating areas are great. I did add a little street light since this area is more near like the city part of my island with the shopping district and such. I thought that it made sense. Also a campfire, just because it was really cozy. You're on a peninsula near the ocean, so maybe you're having like a late night bonfire or something. I don't know. I thought it was really cute. And again, adding fencing, because fencing I feel like makes everything look better. I used the country fencing in this one, which I think it looks so adorable, and I also decided to go ahead and waterscape that so I could climb up there. But before I did that, I had some flowers that I wanted to plant, as well as some shrubs. And then we went up on the cliff here. Again, I didn't really have a lot of room to add things up here since I did the waterscaping, but I think it looks nice to have some elevated flowers and shrubs, and I made sure to decorate this area back here so that it looked completed. I did a shrub, some dropped mushrooms, and a little garden rock, which I had to pick up because I wanted to add some vines on this cliff as well to make it look a little bit more natural, because vines, I feel like, make every cliff look better. I mean, I guess depending on your island theme. For mine it works, but maybe on yours it wouldn't, I don't know. But I had to add the waterscaping back onto the cliff, and then I was stuck again, so I had to call rescue services. And then we just added some more fencing, some more vines, and then this little peninsula was pretty much done. And look at how cute it looks. I'm honestly obsessed with how that turned out with the little terraforming bit. I think it's adorable. And now we are moving on to this beach area. I wanted this one to be really simple and more of like a remote, overgrown beach, since it is kind of leading into the lake area, which is like a more remote space. So that is what I'm going for here. It's going to be very crowded with a bunch of naturey items. I added water puddles. I used the yellow mum sprouts on the beach, because if you didn't know, if you plant like a bud, like a flower bud, it doesn't grow any further on the sand, so it'll stay like this forever. And I just love the way that it looks. I think it looks really nice. It fits the beach area. And then I went back to the peninsula and added a bench with a little flower pot on it. I don't know, I thought it would look really cute there. But back to the beach area, I wanted to add some more custom designs around, just some acorns, some leaves, make it look really full and very natural. And I also went around and placed weeds everywhere just to add another level of dynamic nature, and also wheat fields, because like I said, I love wheat fields on a beach right now. I think it looks so adorable. I also put butterfly models to make it look more lively, some rocks and mushrooms, and just trying to fill up every space with some sort of natural element to make this look really overgrown and kind of just like inaccessible. I don't want this to be like a beach that you would go hang out at. I just want this to be a nature area where you're kind of like, ooh, I don't want to go down there because I'm not wearing tennis shoes type of thing, if that makes any sense at all. But I think that it turned out really cute. I also wanted it to be kind of flat compared to everything else, because we did have a lot of big things happening. And now we are taking the final walkthrough of this build. I think it turned out super cute. I might remove one of the coconut trees later. Let me know what you guys think, if it's too much to have two. But this is what it looks like from different angles. I love the way that it turned out. It looks so full and so nice. And then we have our peninsula over here with the nice terraforming and a little campfire so you can hang out next to the ocean. And that concludes today's video. Those are the 3 builds that I will be showing you. I hope that you will take these tips and use them on your island, and I hope that you feel more inspired after watching this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you have a great day or night. Be sure to subscribe and like this video if you would like to see more related Animal Crossing content, and leave any comments if you have suggestions for tutorials or tips and tricks videos. I will see you guys later. Bye!